All right, it is December 5th, 2024, and my name is Nathaniel Paez. I'm a second year computer science student at Toronto Metropolitan University. I'm trying to pursue a minor in mathematics and economics, and I have a lot of interests in outreach, whatever, education, excellence, so on and so forth. That's kind of my spiel in networking. So today I wanted to navigate the ideas of psychological tests and how they kind of play into my day-to-day life. So there's no real structure for this video. I just kind of wanted the opportunity, or rather I wanted the outlet to really talk about how I feel, because this was actually a really interesting case. So big companies like Deloitte and Scotiabank is actually the company I'm going to be talking about in this video. They require you to take a test for their internship opportunities called from a partnered company named Plum.io. So the Plum test, it's similar to like the MBTI 16 personality test, or whatever that like 1W7 wheel is. Very similar, where you answer questions and based on how you rank them, you actually have a personality that they align you with, or rather they have 10 traits, a pool of 10 traits, and then they rank your traits from most energizing to most draining. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is how I guess the nature of the test, and how arguably stupid I think it is, or stupid's not the right, or it's a very inappropriate word. We'll use how, I guess, labeling yourself under a scientific examination of you can be very redundant for both your personal and social career. So, for an example, for MBTI, since the 7th grade, or 7 years now, my answer has always been, or I've taken the test every year and I've gotten the same response, that I would be a successful, or that I am a debater by personality. And I actually kind of transformed or even weaponized that personality and aligned myself with it to such a point where I felt that I should always be a very skeptical and analytical of my situations and environments. And because of that, I ended up destroying a lot of relationships, and having very unhealthy relationships where I was very demanding of answers and logical reasonings. And I mean that's a very personal thing. However, I would like to emphasize that because it goes to show that I arguably led an inauthentic life, and I think that was very destroying because, there was many opportunities for social development, and I chose to really opt out of that field and portray myself as a debater, or what the debater's qualities are. And by no means am I an intelligent person, but I would hope that I have some sort of qualities that portray me as an understanding and open-minded individual. I actually pride myself in knowing that, or I like to express the fact that I'm a very altruistic and sociable thinker. I firmly believe that it's not about how you think about yourself, but it's actually about how you express yourself to others, and how others receive that expression is actually who you are. So, like, okay, I can lie, and I can say a very positive thing to you with with an internally negative perspective of you, and you might perceive that as a good thing. And you hearing a compliment, whether it be a dishonest one or not, you see me as a nice person, and you might tell your friends that I'm a nice person, and they might tell their friends that they're a nice person, and so on and so forth. So socially, I am a nice person. So I think that's a very fair argument, where how others see you is who you are. And you could probably make like a mathematical statement for that, like for every X that's an element of the world, whatever, some stupid stuff like that. And I think that's important though, because even though I just called it stupid, I think it's very important that math is able to back up things, and if it can back up something, it is very much real. And I think that ties in very well with my whole debater perspective and whole point in being analytical. But that's very negative, because a lot of people follow their passions and their ideals, their ideologies, their modes of thought, everything can be solely based off of emotion for other individuals. And that's a completely okay and if not good thing. And so, I saw a very big relationship of mine crumble apart because I never really took into account how I felt or how they felt, because it just came off as illogical to me, because it just was arguably absurd, what they were expecting and what they wanted. So, I felt that it was absurd because there was no proof to it. Where we are now, I'm a very different individual, and I hope that how those perceive me socially has pivoted, and that I've successfully positioned myself as a greater human being. However, I think it's important for me to acknowledge that, I played into my personality, which is also, assuming that these personalities are true and these labels are correct. The debater was actually inside of me, and it was not me trying to become the debater. However, I think it's interesting that I didn't necessarily think about it like that, and I thought that if this is how I think of myself, this is who I should be. So I tried to be a debater, and I didn't try to be myself. And these qualities follow me. They're a part of me. They're part of my day-to-day life. But I'd like to get into the next part or segment and talk about how this plum profile and the 10 traits kind of made me feel demotivated and frustrated me a lot, actually. So like I said, I'm in my second year of computer science, and I'm really interested in internships and different work, different fields, whether it be more analytical positions like data analytics and business intelligence, more operations focused, or I guess bettering operations like operations research, operations analytics, DevOps, so on and so forth. Making processes better, like supply chain optimization, project management, even product management, if you want to put it under there, so on and so forth. So I am interested in those fields, and typically for data science, data analytics, and those positions, it's not so much more that, or it's not very important to be a strong communicator. It's actually important to be a strong problem solver. So hearing my top 3 energizing traits being communication, problem solving, and conflict resolution and communication, I thought that was actually horrible, because my top 3 worst performing skills, which are very common or even sought after in the world of data and software engineering, is to be a good problem solver, to be innovative, and to execute things well or successfully. And it said I sucked at all 3 of those things. So you would imagine that that was pretty crushing, because these companies don't take resumes. They actually take personality traits and see if you align with certain uh, or they develop a persona based off these characteristics, and then they try to see who matches with it well. So obviously you don't have to be one-to-one, but they try to get individuals who are close to that personality rather than polarizing to it. So I spoke with, the a campus recruiter, talent acquisition, and an individual who hires, or not hires, but trains interns and new hires. And I was asking about the Plum profile, and they actually said that it is a very important thing, and that they do base their results off of it, and that crushed me. I was talking to the team about it, and about my personality and stuff, and they said, even though we do look at it, don't think about it too much. But I want to really navigate and explore this whole idea that I was frustrated with my authentic self, because I answer those questions honestly. I didn't design it, or I didn't curate my answer so that it would reflect what I would imagine the company wants, but rather what's in my best interests. And we'll talk about personal interests in a moment. But I answered authentically, and it goes to show that in a non-competitive environment like the MBTI test, where I'm really just trying to explore who I am or what I could be, that environment is very non-competitive. So my answer didn't, really affect me negatively. In fact, it kind of gave me a label to pursue. I try my best to unalign myself with any form of label now, but I think it's interesting how that's okay. But in a competitive context where I'm competing for a position at a big bank, receiving a profile which I imagine is unorthodox to your typical software engineer or data scientist or whatever job that may be, I'm actually stressed out with who I am, and I want to be something I'm not. Should that be a team playing communicator that is innovative, right? Those are different from what I have, and I wanted that, but I really missed out on understanding that I'm not that, and that and that my true authentic self is who I am. And that really disappointed me until I thought about it. And I talked to someone at Scotiabank. He had very flamboyant platinum blonde hair, and I'm no different. I have red hair right now with 2 eyebrow piercings and tats all over my body. But it's interesting because I was talking to him about, a welcoming, authentic environment that's accepting, or at least respectful of who I am. And he really expressed that Scotiabank is a diverse and welcoming corporation, and that he thought, he had to change himself for the company until he realized that it was normal to be who you are. And so I'm glad that there's a company that allows me to be my true authentic self. But it is disappointing that I was in a position where I was actually frustrated with who I am because I didn't believe it aligned with company values. And I think you can take this concept a step further. I think it's meaningful that when you do something for yourself or for the sake of yourself, it's you no matter what the return is, the completion of something that is for you, from you, is a lot less depressing and frustrating versus when you have to be on your utmost behavior in a societal context. So I'm glad that I was able to, really realize that this whole Plum profile and psychological test as a whole, after years of of learning and stuff, that this is all full of shit. And moving forward, I hope that I'm able to really develop myself in ways that are beyond VS Code and programming and stuff. I think that I want to continue to challenge my thoughts by understanding others' perspectives and really exercising being a strong communicator, because if these psychological tests are right and these are my most energizing traits, why not take advantage of the skills that I have in being a phenomenal communicator and an empathizer, rather than trying to become the ultimate problem-solving scientific genius that was kind of portrayed in as the top 1% of engineers and innovators. Other than that, I think that's all I really have to talk about. I appreciate anyone who took the time to really listen to how I feel about these tests, and yeah, I'm just eating dates right now. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Goodbye.